Wait a minute, wait a minute. Have we been lied to by the mainstream media? Has the media been selling us a fairy tale? Now, obviously, these are rhetorical questions. Everyday viewers of this channel already know the only thing the mainstream media does efficiently is lie to us. Yesterday afternoon, I was wondering why I wasn't seeing the typical celebrations throughout the media. The NWSL Championship game was Saturday night. Typically, finalized ratings for the weekend, they are released on Tuesday afternoons. But yesterday afternoon, the silence was eerie. Was the media distracted? Were they busy coming up with a new strategy to stop the momentum of Vivek Ramaswamy? Were they grieving after Vivek Ramaswamy delivered a first-round knockout punch to Chris Cuomo? Hey, it's me, Chrissy C. Were they grieving because Vivek Ramaswamy knocked Chris Cuomo on his bruised caboose on his own show? Where were the rainbows? Where was the supersized cucumber? Where were the pride flags? I mean, outside of the WNBA, the Not Women's Soccer League, it is the premier representation of the rainbow. Now, the NHL gave them some stiff competition, emphasis on the stiff, but Deacons at Woke United Methodist, they saw right through that virtue signal. The pride in the NHL, it is simply a signal that states, we're on your side. But many of the ladies in the NWSL, they are really about that life. They are led by the former face of their league, the face of disgrace, Megan Rapinoe. Saturday night, this was supposed to be the NWSL's breakthrough event. If this mini dump was ever going to eclipse 1 million viewers, 2023, it was going to be the year it would happen. The Hollywood writers' strike, it ended at the perfect time to craft this fairy tale. I mean, you couldn't have written a better script. On one side, you had the acid rain who kept extending the retirement of the prepubescent boy. After a never-ending series of final games, Saturday night, it was going to be the official final game of the Megster. And then on the other side, you had a group of anonymous players from Gotham City representing comic book nerds across America. Didn't matter to CBS that the group of players from Gotham City were completely anonymous because the NWSL, they were giving CBS the star of stars, the icon of icons. The NWSL was giving CBS something with immeasurable financial value. This was going to be the last time that America would ever see Megan Rapinoe attempt to play soccer. I mean, you can't put a price on that. This was extremely rare. How often do we see iconic sports figures play their final game in a championship game? Well, KC, Megan Rapinoe is not an icon. No shit. But the mainstream media pretends that she is. Last year, the NWSL Championship game, it delivered record high ratings for CBS. The game featured the Portland Poo against the Kansas City former Kitties. Now quick, name one player on either one of those teams. I would be willing to bet 99% of you couldn't even name the teams. Hell, I couldn't do it. That's why I just made them up. Last year, the Kitties against the Poo delivered 915,000 viewers to CBS. So close, so close to hitting that 1 million viewer mark. While 915,000 viewers was a record for the NWSL, it was the most watched game in the history of the league, but that number is absolutely dreadful for CBS. Prime time on Saturday night, CBS typically draws between 2-3 million viewers, and that's when they're broadcasting shows like 48 Hours. The NWSL Championship game delivered less than half that number. But that's okay. That's okay. Because the NWSL had a secret weapon for the 2023 championship game, the prepubescent boy. Over the last couple of years, the mainstream media, they have tried to convince us that Megan Rapinoe is a huge draw. They have claimed that the Megster is the face of soccer in America. Last year, when the NWSL championship failed to deliver 1 million viewers on network television, one of the excuses that we were given by the mainstream media was they were facing stiff competition. They were competing with a big weekend in college football. They were competing with the World Series. I'm pretty sure the shit fucks watching the NWSL, they are not watching college football or Major League Baseball. But fair enough. I'll give them that excuse. This year, though, there was no World Series to compete with. The NWSL was also going up against relatively weak competition in college football. NBC had Michigan State versus Ohio State, vomit. ABC had Texas TCU. I mean, it wasn't like they were competing against LSU Alabama from the weekend before. With the game last year featuring a team that uses a litter box, there's just no way that Megan Rapinoe doesn't deliver a million viewers, right? Saturday night, NWSL Championship, 817,000 viewers on CBS. Now, I'm no expert in math, but that looks like a decline of 11% and a loss of almost 100,000 viewers. Where in the hell did 100,000 people go? This doesn't make sense. I thought Megan Rapinoe was the icon of icons. And you mean to tell me she could not draw a bigger audience than the Portland Poo? You know, I often get criticized for the way I talk about women's sports. Every so often, I trigger a wanker spanker and they leave a nasty comment or they send me an email claiming that I am biased against women. You're a misogynist. Even with the assistance of spell check, they usually misspell the word misogynist. But the truth is, I don't have a problem with women's sports. I don't have a problem with the NWSL. I don't like Megan Rapinoe. I think the Megster is a cancer, but I don't have a problem with the NWSL. I don't have a problem with women's college basketball. It's not something I'm going to watch, but I don't have a problem with their existence. Everyday viewers of this channel know we have a high schooler who plays flag football and soccer. Her flag football team had a devastating loss last night in the playoffs. They were one win away from making the state championship. But I'll be honest with you, I would rather watch the girls play flag football than watch the boys at that school try to play real football. The boys team at that particular school, they are absolutely dreadful. They went 5-5 this season with their 5 wins coming against garbage opponents. Anytime they played a real team, they got their ass kicked. They got destroyed. Can't pass, can't run, can't block. Hell, it barely looks like a football team. Now the girls, on the other hand, they played quality opponents all season. They were a hell of a lot more entertaining. My issue is not with women's sports. My issue is with the way that the mainstream media presents women's sports. The way the media covers women's sports, it's an insult to my intelligence. Hell, it's an insult to your intelligence. I cannot stand being lied to. If you think I am annoying and you want to get rid of me fast, lie to me. When it comes to covering women's sports, the mainstream media, they have created these subtle ways to lie to us. They come up with ways to lie where they're not necessarily lying, but they're not giving us the full truth. Here on the channel, we call it the shit sandwich. Lie sits in the middle, hidden between two truths. For example, check out how CBS celebrated the ratings for the NWSL Championship. CBS was one of the only media outlets celebrating these ratings, and for good reason. These ratings absolutely suck. Like I said, they're great for the NWSL, but if a league like the NBA drew 817,000 viewers on ABC, the media would crucify them. The PR department at CBS, they did a great job polishing this turd. But did you notice they made no mention of the ratings decline? Did you notice when they mentioned the 2022 NWSL Championship in their tweet, they conveniently failed to mention that game drew 915,000 viewers? They also don't provide actual numbers for the audience on Paramount Plus. CBS just claimed the NWSL experienced double-digit growth on Paramount Plus. Yeah, that's great, but what the hell does that mean? Did one person watch last year and 2 people watched on Paramount Plus this year? Is that the double-digit growth that you're talking about? And look, it's not just the NWSL that the media covers this way. Obviously, they do the same thing with the WNBA dump, but they also do this with women's college basketball. This morning, I'm reading through Sports Media Watch, looking at the sports ratings from last week. Headline at Sports Media Watch: Women's Hoops delivers second largest audience during opening week. The most watched women's game of last week was between UConn and NC State. They drew 625,000 viewers on ABC. Now, that is a great number for women's college basketball during the regular season, but that is a horrible number for ABC. Again, I'll make the comparison to the NBA. Hell, we'll make it fair. We'll compare it to men's college basketball. If the men drew 625,000 on network television, networks like ABC, Fox, and CBS, they would be extremely concerned. But when the women draw that number, it's celebrated. Sports Media Watch is actually right. The women drew the second largest audience last week. But this is another example of the media not giving us the full story. The largest audience in college basketball last week, Arizona Duke on ESPN2. They drew 1.2 million viewers. They doubled what the women drew on ABC. But here's the thing. Men's college basketball wasn't heavily featured last week on ESPN. ESPN was too busy showing college football and the NBA. The women were actually featured more than the men. Arizona Duke, 1.2 million on ESPN2. Guess what the women drew on the same network? Tennessee Florida State, 239,000. There were men's games broadcast on the Big Ten Network last week that were outdrawing the women on TNT. Again, my problem is not with women's sports. It's with the way the mainstream media presents them. Now, of course, the WNBA is excluded from this. I do not like the WNBA, mainly because of the players. Not only does the product on the court absolutely suck, the players have this false sense of entitlement. They believe they should be treated like NBA players when they don't even come close to drawing NBA ratings or revenue. But anyway, give me your thoughts. Megan Rapinoe crashes NWSL ratings with the audience declining by almost 100,000 viewers. Anyone surprised by that? Seems to me this is another example of America rejecting Megan Rapinoe. Also, give me your thoughts on women's sports. Do you guys watch them? Do you have a problem with how the mainstream media presents women's sports? Let me know. Sound off in the comments below. Like, subscribe, share the video. I appreciate every single one of you guys and your continued support. Best way to contact me is by email at btlkc84@gmail.com, KC_BTL84 on Twitter. I'll see you guys later.